Hi, I'm Sandy Schroeck, and today for LBR Educates, we're going to be creating a table runner centerpiece. Now this can be a table runner that's going to run down an event or celebration table, either on the table, or it could be an elevated centerpiece as well. So the mechanic that we're going to be using today is the double brick tray from Smithers Oasis. This comes in a single brick and also a triple brick, but they're easy to transport once you've made them. We can also do them. I'm using the Midnight Foam with them, and this is the Max Life foam that is a biodegradable foam. And you can see that I have 2 bricks on here, and then I've used the Midnight tape to tape that. You're gonna go around twice, tape to the tape, and then if you would put this on an elevated board, you would zip tie these to the board, both of these to a board, and you would do your zip tie right over that same tape strip. So let's take a look. So you could do, if you're gonna do a runner, that is a complete runner, what you would do is start with your table length that you would have, run these pieces down and space them out appropriately, and then make that continuous runner. On here you can leave spaces in between here that you can fill in to make a continuous runner, or you can space them out and use some foliages like this Cocculus foliage in between to make some of those connections if your budget's not as big as having one big continuous runner. But let's take a look at creating this. If we're doing it on a table, this is pretty clear. We would put most of our insertions in upright, but we're gonna do this as it's an elevated runner, and this one would go on a stand. So we have stands here. For example, this last weekend, we did multiples of these, and so you have a stand, 2 stands, and then you'd have a board in between here, and then do the 2 double bricks, and then place that on the stands when you got to the venue. The reason to think about the stands is, as I'm making this, if I make it down on the table, what I'm gonna do is put a lot of flowers up in the what I perceive to be as the viewing area. If I elevate this to put my flowers in, then I'm going to have the same visual presence that the customer would have or the attendee would have at the event. So by putting it on the bucket, I'm able to kind of imitate that whole situation. And so we're gonna just start on here. As you're pricing this out, what you're gonna do is price it per brick. And then you know that your recipe is per brick. So on here, we have 5 hydrangeas for here. We have 3 roses for here, 1.5 Hypericum, so there's gonna be 3 in the double brick. And then I have 5 spray roses. And a percentage of the bunch of Leatherleaf, we have 5 Leatherleaf, and then some Huck and the Cocculus. So to start off with the value green, I am going to start by just laying in some pieces of leather, and you'll notice that I'm not cutting them way down. I'm going sideways and getting that insertion. So that's gonna cover that edge. The bottom piece I bring up, but you can see with those 4 pieces, I'm able to cover that whole main edge. By using the Midnight Foam, the Midnight Foam kind of becomes just a shadow within, and so I don't have to do a big coverage of foliage on here. So that's all I'm gonna do to start off with. And then The next thing, the biggest key, a lot of times the trend is, or what customers are looking for is hydrangeas. And I see many conversations about, oh, I would never use hydrangeas in foam. And the company that I work with in Little Rock, Silks of Bloom, they use thousands of hydrangeas every week. And they will utilize them in foam. The biggest mistake you can make is not doing a deep enough insertion. So I know I'm preaching to the choir always about insertions, but the target area on here is the middle within an inch of the bottom of this. That's the last place that water's going to be in this brick. So I need that insertion to go in and all the way to that bottom inch of the container. So the biggest reason that hydrangeas fail for you is that their insertion is not a proper insertion. When we process our hydrangeas, this will be the way that they come in. And I'm gonna take off the large leaves. We'll process our flowers on Tuesday and leave them out so that they can grow and be at their best by the weekend. And so that allows us to be able to get maximum coverage out of the materials. And so you can see here that I'm just coming in, facing those hydrangeas different directions, coming in throughout this piece and having them at different levels, and then making sure that I have that coverage coming from the angle that the viewer is going to see that centerpiece at. So that's our 10 hydrangeas in there. The next thing I'm gonna come in with is some of the spray roses. And the spray roses, we have 5 stems of those. 2, 4, 5. And on these, you like to have the variety of sizes. You can see that they're quite open so that I get a lot of coverage on that. Just move this aside a little bit. And I'm gonna have them peek out over the hydrangeas so that we get that variation in size. Again, making sure that my insertions are going in nice and deep. So you can see as I'm going in, rather than go up and down, I'm coming across, getting a great insertion, and then getting that stem down into that target area where the water is going to go, kind of due to gravity. And then we have our roses on here. And today I'm using the Wedding Spirit Rose, and something like this, the higher petal count roses work really well. You wanna get them out, get them at room temperature. And here we're just picking off a couple of the petals, the guard petals. And then the one thing we're gonna do is we're gonna give them a spin. So you can see that I can get that rose to open so that I get maximum coverage out of those roses. So rather than put these in real dotty, what I'm gonna do is put these in pairs, and so that they have more impact and so that it's not so dotty on the ends. And so you can see, I'm gonna come around on here, get those down into the viewing area. So you can see that's kind of a standard size piece that we have. Now to get a little bit more of the garden look, what I'm gonna do is add some Huckelberry Some of the updated looks now are adding that darker green rather than the eucalyptus that we've been seeing trending for a long time. Now coming in some of these darker greens, a little bit richer look. And then also the Huck adds a little bit more depth and dimension rather than kind of the whole caterpillar look that goes down the table. This is going to give you a little bit more visual interest peeking out through the floral materials. And it's one of those value greens that is price conscious and works really well. Has nice strong stems. You're able to insert it nice and fast and have it give you that more of a garden look. So I kind of call it the budget Italian ruscus a little bit, and I could add Italian ruscus to this like on top and get. Then the other green that I talked about is this Cocculus, and on here this is something that does really well, not in water and stuff, but you can use this to create table runners really easy. So you could see how we could just lay some of this on the table to be able to connect some of those if you have more of a budget conscious wedding, or you can lay some of this on the table and just do some flower heads on it as well. If you go for the tear down, it's something that you can pick up actually and be able to utilize it in your flower shop arrangements the next week as well. So it's a very good, long-lasting green that gives that newer texture and that dark green, rich color into your design components. Has a really strong stem, so again, easy to insert and utilize in design work. All right, so here you can see our finished centerpiece. And so you can see that's the same mechanics that would be done for on a table as well as elevated. And you can see how they would work together. I have another one that I prepared. And so on here, what you would want to do is do them all at the same time. So even though this has the same ingredients, you can see that I got a larger presence out of this centerpiece than this one. So that's why it's real important to run them down the table and do them all at the same time rather than individually, and then you can be really efficient on your time. So just want to show you a little bit on here. So what we can do is do highs and lows. And so here, this double brick tray does fit in this stand from Accent Decor, so you can see that. So we can do runners that would utilize that. And then the next one would be low on the table. And so you can do combinations as well. So there's lots of opportunities to be able to utilize this technique. A couple things to remember is to do one recipe per brick. Then as you're going, then you multiply. A brick is essentially 1 foot. And then you know that you would have the spacing in between. For the end pieces, when you finish, what we do is do one extra recipe and you get a half per end so that you can finish off the end if these are running continuous. So to finish it up, to be able to make sure you can deliver them efficiently, what you want to do is number your centerpieces, have all the numbers face the same direction so that you know where it was made. And so we're gonna do 1, A, B, C, D. And then when they come in for the setup, they're able to know what table number 1 is, and they're gonna put those centerpieces on there, and having those face all the same direction will be able to be efficient on your setups. So this is our table runner centerpiece. It can be used elevated or running down the table continuous, or single pieces and connect them with foliages. Lots of opportunities to be able to create these runners. And so I hope you'll take some of these tips and techniques and create some fabulous florals.